All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started on this beautiful, gloomy, whatever you want to call it, Monday morning. And I'm so glad to have you guys here with me in our last weeks of live lessons. So today and Wednesday are the last times that I teach this year. So it's really special to have you guys here on board with me today. Speaking of having someone on board today, I do have some lovely people who have decided they wanted to help and assist this meeting. So we're going to make a lovely comeback to Owen and Cooper. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Good, guys. That's awesome. Well, we're glad to have you assist here in our lesson about the Roman Republic today. And just know that you guys are unmuted for the entire time. So thanks for being in a nice, quiet spot. And thank you to you at home for also being in a nice quiet spot today as we're going to go through some notes. We're going to do some fill-in notes today. We're going to play some pattern puzzles, which we did that for the Paleo and Neolithic chapters back a long time ago, which seems. So we're going to bring it back and do it Zoom style. Before we do that, we're going to do a little kind of positive affirmation for the day. I have these really cool positive affirmation cards, as you can see. And I'm going to pick one, and Cooper and Owen are going to kind of help me utilize these. So these are going to help us kind of, start our day off in like a positive manner. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this one. Now this one says, I am respectful. I am respectful. I am going to be polite and considerate of everyone I see today. So this affirmation, how does this help you in your life, Cooper? Where have you been respectful before?
Well, it helps you in your life because if you're more respectful, you become a more mature and better person all around.
Fantastic. What about you, Owen? When in your life have you been respectful before?
Well, I mean, around your family, your parents and teachers, or just in general, if someone older than you is trying to talk to you and help you out that you know and trust, and you just listen to them because it'll help you get farther in life.
Oh, that's so nice. And great words of wisdom there, Owen. Gentlemen, how can we be respectful today in our live lessons? So that's kind of a perfect card to draw today. Cooper, how can you be respectful today as we learn about Rome?
Just pretty much, you can just watch whatever Miss Kara's showing, take your notes, don't interrupt.
Owen?
Pay attention.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. So that's your affirmation for today. So figure out a time today where you can be respectful and go about that and let that kind of guide you in your day today. So thank you guys for that. I am going to show you guys Edsby like we always do, so you know where to go for all of your things today. Let's go ahead and take a look at first period. Give me a thumbs up if you're in my first period class. Woo woo! Shout out to first period. So we are going to go to, not house hominal, first period. And you guys will see the screen where it says objectives. And today we're going to be able to explain how life was like in the Roman Republic for the Patricians and the Plebeians. So those are going to be two different groups of people today that we are going to be looking at, the Patricians and the Plebeians. Also, you're going to be critiquing the actions of the Plebeians and why it's important to stand up for what you believe in. So, that's kind of another life lesson that we're learning here today in our lesson. Today, what you guys need to do, they're actually, I know it's crazy, IXL. There's some IXL skills that I evaluated that are actually really, really good to help with this lesson. So I've identified, I guess it's skill J, as in Jason. Skill J is Rome and the Byzantine Empire. Skills 1, 2, 3, and 4 are really, really good to practice. So after the lesson today, I encourage you guys to go practice any, all, some, one of those skills today. The skills aren't graded in my class. It just helps you to learn more and understand more of that chapter. So they're extremely recommended, but not required to do. So go ahead and do that after the lesson today. You guys are here live, and I can't be more thankful for you guys to be here today. If you are tuning into the recorded lesson, hello and welcome to you, and thank you for doing that. The PowerPoint is attached down here below, as well as the notes and the pattern puzzle choices for later today. There are no assignments due today. There's nothing I'm going to assign today to do, but Wednesday is going to be our last day of grades. So make sure you tune in Wednesday so you can get your grades. Office hours are here today for you guys to join me in if you have any questions. And I am super, super excited to go ahead and get started with today. Obviously, if anything comes up as far as questions go, please pop those into the chat, and we'll address those as always. Thank you for those of you who are popping into the chat about ways to be respectful. I appreciate that. That was really great. And so we're going to go ahead and go to our hello title screen. The same objectives I just read are there, as well as the material. So thank you guys for being ready. If you don't have a way to print the notes, just go ahead and have some paper and pencil, jot some things down. There's going to be, things that you want to write down today. We're going to do an intro question to our chapter today, and I'm going to put you guys in breakout sessions for that. So we'll go into breakout sessions in just a moment to talk about our intro question. We're going to do pattern puzzles on the Patricians and the Plebeians. We're going to work on our fill-in notes, and then we have our independent work and final questions for today. So Cooper, Owen, can you think of any questions that might come from all of that information so far?
Not right now.
Okay, perfect. So in just a moment, I'm going to put you guys into breakout sessions. I want you guys to start thinking now, though, of what you would say, because I'm going to be popping into those sessions, and I want to see people talking. I don't want to see people muted. I want to hear you guys having a conversation. So take advantage of this last week live with each other today and communicate with each other and talk to each other. So I want you guys to think of a time in your life when you had a conflict with a person, a family member, teacher, friend. It could be really anybody. I want you guys to talk about that conflict with the people that are going to be in your breakout session. I want you to talk about how that conflict made you feel. Maybe you were just really mad. Maybe you were kind of afraid or just like nervous. How did you handle the conflict? Did you take it upon yourself to, I bring my fist up, to like, I don't want to say fight, but did you bring it upon yourself to kind of take care of that and talk to the person? Did you just let it fizzle out? Or you shy? And then what positive thing came out of this argument? I know sometimes it's hard to dig, but positive things can come out of troubled situations. So I'm going to keep this shared, but also if you have your fill-in notes or you have those printed or even on your screen, this question is on there too. So use that to help guide you as well. So I'm going to put you guys into breakout sessions so that you can start chatting, just talking about this question a little bit, because it is going to fuel our lesson today. It's going to fuel kind of like how we go. So thank you for accepting a little breakout session notification. And thank you guys for going into those as that you get those. So again, just to recap, I want you guys to think of a time in your life when you had a conflict with a person, a family member, a coach. When you guys are in there talking about that conflict, how did it make you feel? How did you handle it? And what positive things came out of that? So thank you for joining in.
All right.
All right, guys. So who's going to start?
I'll start.
Thanks, Owen.
Well, it's kind of dumb. Me and my friend were having an argument over a video game, whether who to like pick one certain football player. And then what we did, we just got over it, and then we just, in the end, we got a good football player in the draft virtually. So that's how it turned out.
That's awesome. Anybody have any comments on that? Thank you guys so much for being a part of this breakout room too. Who's going to go next?
I'll go next.
All right, thanks, Colby.
Well, I kind of have a lot of arguments because, like, the two.
Addison, are you the only one unmuted?
Yes.
Why isn't everybody participating in this conversation? Come on, guys.
Well, Will, Emma,
They can't get themselves unmuted.
I say they
Okay.
can't do it.
Okay.
Like their stuff is broken or whatever.
No worries, but thank you guys who are able to be unmuted. Thank you for sharing and talking.
So, Addison, is it just me?
All right, everyone's muted. How are we supposed to talk?
I'm kind of scared to talk.
Okay, well, I'm going to end the sessions because
Nobody was talking.
definitely want to make sure that we're talking about the question.
Yeah.
About 60 more seconds into the breakout rooms, and then we're going to come back to the main session. Thanks for coming back. All right, so thank you guys for discussing, those of you who were discussing the question in the breakout session. Raise your hand if you would like to share your instance when you had a conflict with somebody and you're able to describe all about what happened. Juliana.
Oh, okay. So I don't want to say like a specific situation because this is gonna go on YouTube. But like, so if you're in my sixth period, you would know that like no one really liked me besides Sadie. But like, and then at my old school, and then I was very sad at the time, and then nothing really, like we told, like nothing really happened, like people just got away with it, so I can't really say like how it like worked out, because and then when I couldn't, and I was so shy to handle it because I didn't learn to like, because I was very bad at like sticking up for myself at the time. So yeah, and then things changed when when I left Sun Lake and then came here, and then I made a lot of friends here.
Oh, that's awesome. So what you're saying is the positive that came out is that you made a lot more friends at the new place.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Juliana. I appreciate that. We'll do one more. Colin, do you want to share your situation?
Yeah. So mine's with my brother. I'm not saying which one, but he beats me up every day, and I basically get beat up every day because I can't beat him up. And then one time, and it's just really bad, and I always try to work it out with him, but he still beats me up.
So what's the positive that can come out of this?
When I'm older, I can beat him up.
Oh my goodness. Or maybe you can learn how to communicate better with him in some kind of way. So yeah. Yeah, so always try to look for the positive. Now, you guys are all probably wondering, what does this have to do with Rome and lessons? So that's going to be kind of my next part to do, is go over why there is people having issues in Rome. But then again, you know, it's ancient history, and you probably are like, yeah, we're used to having problems with people, and people were always like fighting each other. So this might not be a surprise to you. But we are going to learn about two groups of people in Rome. Okay, we said their names in the beginning, the Patricians and the Plebeians. Now, if you guys are looking at the screen, you guys are seeing, maybe you're even seeing yourself. This is an activity that we did when we did the Neolithic and Paleolithic chapter. I had you guys just predict what characteristics described paleo and what characteristics described Neolithic people. So if you guys do remember that, that is what we are doing today with the Patricians and the Plebeians. So you guys are probably wondering, well, how are we going to do pattern puzzles? We don't have our people here. We don't have the slips of paper. Well, and I have posted the characteristics of the Patricians and the Plebeians. So we're going to go through these together. I was going to put you guys in breakout rooms again, but seeing as how a lot of people were muted, I'm going to just kind of do it here. So in the chat, this is just a prediction, okay? I'm going to have you guys in the chat write down your prediction. So if you look at the instructions, put a PLEB for a plebeian or a PAT for patrician next to the characteristic that you think it is, okay? So we're gonna go slow because I know a lot of people are kind of at different paces with the chat. So we have no idea about these two groups of people, nothing. We don't know, we just know that there's two names. So, but just remember, when you're doing a pattern puzzle, if you think one group is wealthy, would you also put them as poor? No. So make sure that you guys are, if you say one group is wealthy, you're saying the other group is poor. You're not doing the same thing, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and get Cooper and Owen kind of going here too to help us out in their predictions too. So welcome back, guys. If you guys are seeing the screen, or if you guys have this printed out, feel free to write down on your list too. So in the chat, which one of these could serve on a senate? Which, plebeian or patrician? Go ahead and write your one, just the abbreviation in the chat. Which one can serve on a senate? Okay. Nice job, guys. We're gonna actually tell you the real answers too, so don't worry. We will tell you the real deals. Awesome. Next one. And if you want to put number 2, just so I know, the bulk of the population. So which one of these is the majority of the population? Which is the majority of the population? Cooper, which one do you think? Just kind of off the top of your head.
Plebeian.
Okay. What about you, Owen?
The plebeians too.
You agree? Okay. Let's see if your classmates agree with you guys. Miles does, Jake does, Ayla does. Good job, y'all. All right, number 3. Here's what I said about making sure that you write the right one. So which one of these is the wealthier group? So you could actually use the previous one to help you. Is the bulk of the population, if you guys said plebeian, are the bulk usually the most wealthy? Or is it a smaller area, a smaller chunk of the population? So that usually can help you. Which one do you think, Cooper, is the most wealthiest group?
The patricians.
Yeah, Maddox agrees with you. Martin, Arage agrees with you. Luke agrees with you. Absolutely. Good job. Again, the next characteristic held most of the power and control you guys can base your guess on the previous answers as well. Which one of the two do you think held the most power and control? Owen, what do you think?
I think it's the plebeian. I don't know how to say that one. The
Plebeians?
yes.
Do you
plebeians.
agree, Cooper? Cooper, do you agree it's the plebeians?
I think he's muted.
Oh. Okay. Cooper thinks it's patrician. And agreeing with him is Will Peak, Ashlyn, Leilani. You guys are doing really, really good with that. So keep on guessing. Next one. The elected officials were called tribunes. Elected officials were called tribunes. Go ahead and put your guess in. I'm going to unmute you, Cooper. What are you thinking here, Cooper? The elected officials.
I would think patricians, but I'm not like 100% sure.
Okay, yeah. Braden thinks plebeians. Jake thinks patricians. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of different ones for this one. What about could not hold political, military, or religious offices? Which ones could not hold those special offices? Plebeians, I'm getting a very big influx of plebeians right now. Owen, what do you think?
I'm not so sure about this one. Probably the patrician.
Okay. Now, Owen, which one did you put was wealthy?
Don't know because I remember because I didn't write it down.
You don't
No,
remember?
I think it was the patricians I put as wealthy.
Now, could the wealthy people hold the political offices usually in past history?
Yes, they could.
They could.
Wealthy.
So you're basing that on your guess for wealthy and saying the opposite so saying plebeians could not hold. Yeah, a lot of your classmates agree with you. Arij, Braden, Maddox. Then, of course, we all know if you put that one, you're going to put the opposite for could hold military or religious offices. And everyone's saying patricians now. Now, Cooper, which one did you put for the bulk of the population?
For the bulk of the population, I put the plebeians.
Okay, so now we're getting to the small part of the population. So do you still agree it's the opposite?
Yes.
Okay, so for the small part of the population, we're saying maybe that's the patricians. Miles agrees, Braden agrees. Good job, guys. And then going back to, as far as like wealthy goes, Owen, are artisans, shopkeepers, and peasants usually very wealthy?
Not normally, no.
Not normally. So maybe you put the opposite for wealthy for what you put for artisans. Brady Rudkin agrees with us here that it's the plebeians here. And then your last characteristic is middle to lower class. Some of us want to keep our previous guess for middle to lower class. Jake, Leilani, Cooper, good job. All right, so a lot of you guys did not have any previous instruction on this, and you guys are just using your context clues here to make these predictions. So we're gonna actually show you if you are correct. In your fill-in notes, if you have those with you, there is a blank little chart that you guys can fill in the right answers. So we're gonna go through and tell you which ones were correct. And shout out, give me a thumbs up if you see yourself in any of these photos of the previous pattern puzzle activity. Shout out to you guys for making the PowerPoint today. All right, so you guys made all of your guesses, and here is the actual real thing. So give yourself a round of applause in the reactions if you did a very decent job guessing. So we're going to go through the patricians first, okay? Thank you guys for writing this down if you have this with you. The patricians were wealthy, okay? A lot of us kind of guessed that right from the get-go. They could hold different positions in the government, such as military positions, political, religious. They were able to hold those. They were a very small part of the population. And of course, we know from past experiences with leaders, they held most of the power and control. They could also serve on the Senate. Okay, so those are some just quick characteristics about the patricians. I'm slowly going to reveal a little bit more about these people to us as well. And then the plebeians, they were middle to lower class. They could not hold political, military, or religious offices. They actually were not allowed. They weren't even lumped in when they said the people of Rome. The plebeians were never even lumped into that. They weren't even considered people, which is crazy. They were the bulk of the population. Jobs they had included artisans, shopkeepers, and peasants. Most of them were peasants. And then we know that the peasants, always got put to work on the biggest projects too. So even though they are low, we've known in the past, the peasants are needed in society. They built the pyramids, they helped construct the Great Wall. So a lot of these people were getting their respect. That's our affirmation today, respect. And then the elected officials were called tribunes. So, wait, they couldn't hold political office, but they had elected officials. How does that work? Well, I'm going to show you guys today a little bit further down the line how that works. So, Cooper, how did you do?
I did pretty good on all of them except for the elected officials called tribunes.
Okay. Oh, and how did you do today on the guessing? I guess Owen left us. I have Maddox in the chat saying he got them all correct. Tell us in the chat how you did and your predictions. We'd love to hear. Leilani got a 9 out of 10. That's really awesome. Great predicting going on. Way to use those context clues in your just in your experiences. Braden got them all right. Way to go, you guys. That's awesome. I'll give you guys a few more moments, especially if you're copying these down, while I get your results and how you did. Will Pete got a 10 out of 10, Martin 9 out of 10. Great job. See, it's all culminated to this moment, guys. You've learned so much in history and your reasoning skills and your detective skills. They've all paid off. They've all paid off. So you can go into 7th grade with these amazing skills. Kate got a 9 out of 10. Excellent, excellent work, everybody. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the conflict that the plebeians had with the patricians. Now, we talked earlier in the day in the class about you having a conflict with a teacher, a family member, a student. And this is kind of how that all ties in, because the plebeians had a conflict with the patricians, a big, big conflict. So I'm going to kind of hash out what that conflict was. And you guys in the chat too, I want you to kind of stay alert and maybe tell me your reactions to some of these things that the patricians did to the plebeians. And let me know if you don't think that's right. So some of the things the patricians did, when they said the people, and I think I mentioned this a few moments ago, when they said the people, it only meant the patricians. Now that's wild because the patricians were a small part of the population. So how are we ignoring this very large part of people and not including them? To me, that's crazy. So I would have a problem with that if I was a plebeian. I wasn't even included in the people. Now we know that the patricians were able to hold government positions. So the Senate, which was their governing body, was 300 patricians. Okay, the Senate was made up of 300 only patricians. They were elected by the patricians. The plebeians did not even get a say in who was governing them. So elected by patricians. and they made the laws that only supported the patricians. And then these people are serving life terms. They are serving for life. When the Senate gets elected, they don't have like, oh, you have 4 years and then we get new people. Nope, they are in it for life. So, am I seeing anybody angry in the chat yet? No, I'm not. So I guess you guys are still okay with this. You're okay with the patricians doing this to the plebeians. Okay, Kate, thank you. Kate saying that's really bad. I'm getting more and more comments. Thank you guys. Very angry Maddox is right now. Thank you guys. Okay, let's continue on and let's see if that rage escalates or if you feel a little better. Okay, so after the whole Senate thing, that the patricians can only elect senators and they're in there for life, there's no way to change it. Only patricians can serve in the government. So any other government posts, in addition to senators, can only be patricians, all right? Laws were not even written down, okay, guys? I'm getting vibes of like the Greek governments. I'm getting vibes of the governments where the rich became richer and the poor became poorer. I'm getting vibes that if a law doesn't work out at the moment, they could just switch it up right at the last moment, which is what the patricians did. They changed the laws to favor themselves. They interpreted the laws to favor themselves, even if the wording was like really creepy. You know how like in the fine print, Cooper, are you okay over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. In the fine print and like some ads, they say like, oh, and by the way, this only works for this. Like, I feel like the patricians just wrote in only fine print and like they could twist it and turn it to make themselves look good. And that's what they did, guys. They didn't even write the laws down. They didn't even have steelies when they wrote the laws yet. And then the patricians basically had all the power. However, they are still forcing the plebeians to fight in the army. Obviously, they have the jobs where they farm, they build stuff, they're artisans. So they have the important jobs. We've talked about this before in social structure. We've talked about how the majority of the population is at like the bottom part of that triangle, but yet they farm, they provide us our food, yet they build the beautiful monuments that we still have standing today. I mean, the pyramids of Giza are the only ones standing from the ancient wonders of the world. They built all these things, but yet they get no respect. So we're seeing the same thing in Rome, basically, is these plebeians are fighting their army. They're being forced to fight. And of course, the patricians are like, da, 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 we get to be rich. So again, let's see some of your thoughts in the chat. I'm gonna kind of read those out to the class. Maddox, if they did get paid, it was very, very little. Nikhil is not okay with this, by the way. Martin thinks that the patricians are evil. Boo, is what he says. And Luke is like, this reminds me of an oligarchy. And Luke, you are on point, 100%. So Luke, I am going to actually unmute you real quick because I want to hear from you. Luke, we know that in an oligarchy, things can get really crazy. So what's like the next step for us to overthrow an oligarchy? What happens?
Probably it would be a tyranny where one person would be like, we don't like how they're ruling us. We don't like this, trying to get all the lower class people to be on their side so they can overthrow them. And
yeah. Oh, keep going. Yes, there's more for sure.
Once that, if they do overthrow them, people would realize if the person is like most tyrants, who they just do it at first to help the people and then they want more power, people would be like, oh, why did we do this? It's worse than it was before. And then probably another person would come until they figured out how to get it where it's balanced like a democracy again. And
Yeah, Luke, you're totally on point here. And you are just kind of bringing back all the feels for that chapter in Greece. So thank you for those thoughts. Thank you for your comment. That was really on point there. And yeah, we can predict, because it's happened in history so many times, what's going to happen. And while Luke said like one person, like in a tyranny, might rise up, that's sort of true. But what happens is the plebeians actually come together and they rise up as a group. So, you know the saying, there's power in numbers, right? So think about all of the plebeians coming up and being angry about the situation that they find themselves in. So the next slide is going to provide you guys with what happens now that the plebeians are standing up for themselves. And yes, I want to hear more cheers like, yeah, go get them, good job. As you hear things you like, don't say it yet because we haven't revealed anything. But as you see things in the notes that you're like, good for them, please pop it in the chat. I want to hear your reactions. Give me your reactions to these things. So let me go ahead and start on what things changed because the plebeians, they had enough. So I'm going to tell you what they did. Again, they were forcing them to fight in the war and fight in battles. And what they did is they staged kind of like a sit-in. So they got all of their people, all the people that they could, and they actually moved out close towards the border. So they weren't really in the city anymore. So when they camped out for weeks, and the patricians weren't getting their food. They weren't getting what the plebeians provided, in their peasantries. And of course, they didn't have people to defend the city in war because they all moved away and they weren't going to help. They kind of rebelled in a way, and it was a really awesome rebellion. So the patricians really had no choice but to give them what they wanted and what they desired. So I'm going to tell you guys what the plebeians wanted out of this rebellion. And by the way, this rebellion was called the Conflict of Orders, the Conflict of Orders. So it was a big conflict for sure. So out of this is what they gained when they fought back. So again, relating it to your personal lives. When you fight back or when you approach the person you're having a conflict with civility, there are positives that can come from that. So here are some positives that came from the plebeians when they stood up for themselves, when it's important to stand up for yourself. Number one, they actually were able to get some elected officials into the government. Okay, those elected officials were called tribunes. Okay, tribunes were added, and basically it's a representative or two of the plebeians that was able to come to the meetings and kind of speak on behalf of the plebeians. So that was good. That's a start. Next, the plebeians could veto laws. To veto means to overrule or overrule any actions that were taken. So if the patricians voted on something, the plebeians could say, no, we don't agree with that. Again, if you guys are liking this, let me see those reactions in the chat. Okay. Next, the number of tribunes grew over time. So they started with 2, but they ended up having as many as 10. So 10 people to kind of add that sense into the patricians, if you would say that. The plebeians formed a law-making body. So in addition to the Senate, we had the Council of Plebs that were able to be in the government. Of course, they could make laws as well. They could propose laws. And Maddox, yeah, that's definitely karma for sure. I love Trey's little faces that he's making too. Those are awesome. The plebeians got the laws to be written down. Oh my gosh, so the patricians can't change them anymore. So they got them written down, and there actually was a name to the laws. They were called the 12 tables. Okay, if we were in the classroom, we would do an activity on the 12 tables, we would examine what each law was on each of the tables. So it's almost like little steelies or little like pieces of stone where the laws were carved, and they were literally set in stone. So they couldn't be changed. So the plebeians got the laws to be written down finally. They're finally getting respect, recognition. Thank you, Cooper, for saying that into the chat. And it's kind of interesting that today we pulled the respect card from our deck of cards today. So pretty interesting, and maybe it's telling. One of the two consuls had to be a plebeian. So the consuls were just only patricians before. There were two, but now one has to be a plebeian. So they have to work together. The plebeians could now be senators. Oh my gosh. So before they weren't even allowed to be called people. So now they can be senators, and the plebeians now had the right to pass laws. So yay, a big collective, yay. I'm seeing in the chat, yay. That's what happens, guys, when you stand up for yourself, okay? So this isn't only a lesson to learn about history, but it's a lesson to learn like in your lives, like when you stand up for yourself. Now, if the plebeians did not stage a rebellion, if they did not move down, if they kept doing what they were doing, we would see ourselves in a very different Rome. We really, really would. Write down in the chat what you think would continue to happen if the plebeians did not stand up for themselves. Does anybody have any ideas of what would still be happening in Rome if they didn't rebel? While we're waiting, Cooper, what would you think would still be happening?
Well, the patricians would still probably rule, and they'd have probably a lot more power.
Okay. Yeah, they would have a lot more power. Luke says in the chat that, you know, they might even come to it where they would be slaves. All of them would be slaves. They would be pushed down by the patricians, is what Jake says. That's really, really good. Plebeians would still be in slavery. Rochelle agrees. And yeah, so lots of really, really cool things, guys. Thank you for adding your reactions and your thoughts in the chat today. That really, really helps. So I'm going to do some closing questions as we kind of round out our lesson today. And I'm going to be kind of unmuting some of you guys to talk if you have a really, really good thing to say. And these summary questions are also on your printed fill-in notes. So go ahead and fill in what you believe personally should go here. So the first question I'm going to ask, let's just stick to the first one. Why were the patricians frightened by the actions of the plebeians? So what frightened them so much that they gave in to their demands? Maddox.
I think what frightened them was because since the plebeians, is that how you pronounce it?
That's how you pronounce it.
Okay. They were basically the legwork, and kind of like I imagine it kind of as a human body. Without like your arms or your legs, you can't really move anywhere in society or in your economy. And without the other, then kind of everything will fall to pieces. So the patricians were kind of frightened because they couldn't move anywhere.
Yeah.
Really, because they were either going to be attacked by their enemies and be conquered, or they would lose lots of food to weather, like not being tended correctly. The animals would eventually get hungry and they would all die, so no meat. Of course, also the cities would fall into disrepair because there would be no one to fix them. And of course, I think I forgot how to say it, the
plebeians or patricians?
Patricians. There we go. The patricians would have to do all the like work and not take any of the credit for it.
That's
really,
right.
So.
And we also talked last lesson about the lucky location that Rome finds itself in too. And you know, you don't want to really give that up because you're in such a beautiful spot and you're benefiting from the Etruscans and the Greeks, you wouldn't want to give that up, right, Maddox?
Yeah, plus you also had basically a bunch of like natural fishing areas and harbors and stuff like that.
Exactly. Wonderful answer. Thank you so much. And I would love to hear from another one of you guys too on this final question. If you take a look, why is it important to stand up for what you believe in? Okay, so we learned a lot about the patricians and the plebeians here, and then even our own personal little battles that we may have gone through with people. Why is it important to stand up for what you believe in, guys? Use references from the plebeians' experiences in your answer. So if anybody has some important things to say about this, and then using the plebeians as well. Andrew,
Yeah.
what would you like to say about this final question?
Well, I know for one, it is important to stand up for what you believe in, so people know that you can. No. It's important to stand up for what you believe in because people will know that it's a free country. You don't have to believe what other people say.
Yes. Is there any experience from the plebeians that you particularly liked and were like just rooting for them that they stood up in that way?
Yeah, like sometimes when we played the games on PE,
Mm-hmm.
like my team, we were ganging up on the other team, and it was like one of those dodgeball games. It was the last day of school that we had before spring break. I miss those days.
Me too.
Yeah, and I actually saw like a little rhyme online about the patricians and the plebeians.
You saw a rhyme?
Yeah, like a little poem about it.
Oh my gosh, you have to send that in the chat or something.
Well, here's how it goes.
Oh, you're going to tell me. Okay.
Okay. The patricians threw the punches at the plebeians hard and deep. The patricians always try to hurt them because they're just a big careless little bleep.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for those bleeps for sure in there. I was getting nervous for a moment. Thank you for your contributions, Andrew. Leilani, I'm going to kind of end with you on your answer to the question, why is it important to stand up for yourself?
I think it's important to stand up for yourself because, like, to add on to what Andrew said, it's to show people that you like yourself and you like everything about yourself, like your culture, like where you come from. You just like yourself, and that's really what I think that answer should be.
Awesome. And then from the plebeians' experiences, which one kind of stood out for you that they stood up for themselves doing?
Maybe where they like wrote down the laws.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that's actually one of the ones that I'm very proud of them for doing too, because it's hard because not everybody's educated and they could take advantage of that. The patricians could take advantage that not everyone knew how to read or, could do that. So that was very evil on the patricians' part that they changed them all the time. But now that they're in stone, we can now focus on those words and learn them and learn what they mean. So thank you for that, because I definitely agree with you on that one, Leilani. All right, guys, so that kind of makes our lesson come to a close today. And I want to thank all of you for participating and being here today in this lesson. I think that Owen may have left us. So Cooper, it's going to be kind of up to you to leave us on some positive words. Do you have anything for us today?
I mean, it's the last week of real school, so just get it done and then smooth sailing from there.
Nice. Yeah, just get it done. You guys have this next hour. I highly recommend to go onto those IXL skills. I have the IXL link in Edsby that you guys can use to log in, and I'm sure you guys have been doing it for your other subjects as well. And those quizzes, those questions are really, really good for kind of solidifying this lesson. So guys, do a few of those, do all of them, do one to help you guys out. And then we are going to conclude our Rome chapter on Wednesday. And if you feel like you want to be an assistant, if I maybe haven't called on you, or you feel like you do a good job, just send me an Etsy message. I'm looking for some assistants for that lesson for Wednesday. And that'll be our last live lesson. So be here, tell your friends to be here. And thank you guys for being here today as well. So have a beautiful day. I know it's kind of rainy, so once again, we can make that into a positive. We can, use that to kind of cozy up and, be a part of, reading and things like that. So have a great day, guys. Thanks, Cooper and Owen, who left us, for being our assistants today. And I hope this helped you guys learn about the patricians and the plebeians. And have a good day. Bye.